Hey y'all! So, as you know, COVID-19 has went on and ruined everybody's life, and I had to stay inside all the time. I decided to take on a little cosplay project, and I wanted to do something a little bit difficult, you know, that I just wouldn't have time for normally. I noticed that I have such a horrible glare in my glasses because of my computer screen. I'm sitting at my computer, and just in case some of y'all are curious about what my background is, it is of course my husband, Makoto Edamura, the fucking love of my life. Anyway, yeah, I just turned my computer screen off just so there's no glare, so hope everyone said goodbye to Makoto. Anyway, where the fuck was I? What am I talking about? I decided it would be fun. Well, actually, I decided it would be difficult to make Edward Elric's arm and hand. His Automail arm and hand. And I'm gonna tell you how I did it. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage of me actually doing it. No one's perfect, you know? I can't do everything. So here's the hand. There's that. Here is the arm. I'm trying to get it where you can see all of it. Okay. Some super great features and benefits of building this arm and hand the way that I did it is once you put them on, you will actually lose most of your ability to move your hand and your arm. So if you've ever wondered what it would feel like to not be able to move your hand or your arm, this is for you. So, the hand. Naturally, of course, I started with the base of a purple glove because I'm fucking stupid. Listen, I got impatient and I wanted to start doing it, but I didn't have a black glove at my house. The only glove I had was purple, and so I just painted it black, which is just unbelievably dumb. Listen, if you're gonna do this, just start with a black glove. Please, don't do this to yourself. It's so stupid. And also, I'm pretty sure, I put it all together first, the glove, and then I put this stuff on, and before I painted the whole thing, I could move my hand, but then after I painted it, I couldn't move my hand in it anymore. So maybe if you just got a black glove and didn't paint it, you might have some mobility in this, but I didn't do that, so I don't know. So what you're gonna need a black glove. You're gonna need, I believe it's called high density foam. It's not expensive. It was like 10 to 20 bucks for like one sheet of it, and or one roll of it. And one roll of it is all I used for the whole thing. And I had some left over. So really not that expensive. These bits here and the screws. So for that bit I used these moldable plastic pellets. And it tells you how to use them on the thing. And then I painted it. So those are all the materials I used for this. Oh, no, I actually also got a heat gun, which was the most expensive thing I got for this whole thing. But if you already have a heat gun, then you're set. And also, you can obviously use a heat gun again for your future projects. But if you really don't have the cash for it, so I didn't want to pay for one either. I looked it up, and I don't know, I got mixed, opinions about it. Some people said, yeah, you can use a hair dryer. Some people said that's not a good idea. I don't know. But if you're in a pinch, try a hair dryer, I guess. You're going to want to look up a picture of the hand and of the arm to go by. That's what I went by. I didn't find a pattern or anything like that. I just eyeballed it. What you're going to want to keep in mind with that is it's really hard to find good reference images of the hand and the arm, because every single reference image I looked at, it's different from picture to picture. Every single one is different. So you're going to want to, you can kind of use other reference images to supplement, but really you're going to want to try to pick one and go off of that. because if you try to start it with one reference image and then go to a different one, it's gonna look different and you're just not gonna know what you're doing. I really didn't have a good plan for this, which is why it's hard to explain, but so my strategy for any cosplay is always to just fuck it, let's try it. Let's just go straight in, not really have a plan, just fuck around until you get something that's good enough. So I would have that mentality, because that's what makes it fun. For me, what makes it fun is figuring it out. Because I really didn't have a plan, and also I started this like back in April or some shit. So this has been months in the making. It has been several months since I made this. So I'm just going to try to give you a general idea of what I did. So I looked at the image, I cut out the pieces of foam. The parts on the fingers are two different pieces. So there's the piece on the top and the piece on the bottom. For all of these pieces, use the heat gun every single time to mold it to the shape of your finger. Don't think that you can just leave it flat and hot glue it on, and because hot glue is hot, you'll be able to kind of mold it as you go along. It's not gonna work right. It's gonna lose shape, it's gonna not glue on the way you want it, it's gonna fight the hot glue. So just mold it first, then glue it. Because I say that because I got lazy so many times and didn't want to use the heat gun first. I just wanted to glue it on, but it doesn't work as well. Really just cut the pieces out, mold them, and then glue them on. Also make sure, unfortunately I wasn't really able to do this because I have tiny hands, but try to get a glove that fits like very snugly, perfectly on your hand. Because if you don't, you're gonna have like excess fabric and that's gonna make it hard to like glue it on correctly. For this part right here, I would make this part bigger. I don't like how small these little divots are on mine. I would try to make them a little bigger than this. But basically, in this piece right here, I cut out space for them. And then these are different pieces. And I, cut them so they would fit in the hole. And then I did the heat gun and molded them into that shape, and then I glued them in. One thing that's difficult about making this, if you can get someone to help you, that would be best. Because the biggest problem I ran into making this hand, but also especially the arm, is that the only way to make sure that you're gluing things in the right place is to put the glove on and then hot glue it onto the glove while you're wearing it. Don't do that. I feel like I have to put some kind of warning, because that's really stupid and it's not a good idea, but I can't think of another way to do it. And it kind of hurts. Even though you've got the glove to kind of protect your hand, it still kind of hurts. You're still kind of hot gluing directly onto your hand a little bit. So this is going on your right hand. The arm is going on your right arm. So if you're right-handed, you're having to glue shit onto your hand with your non-dominant hand. That's what I had to do. So if you have someone else who can glue for you, that would be really helpful. Also, I would recommend when you put the hot glue on a piece, don't put it on there immediately. Give it a couple seconds to cool down a little bit, and then try to put it on at the last second, and it'll hurt a little less. But also, don't do that at all. Just to figure out a different way to do it. I don't know. And, oh yeah, so the moldable plastic pieces. So what I used the little pellets for is the screws here, this screw here, and the little knuckles. The knuckles look a little wonky if you really look at them. When you're working with the moldable plastic stuff, you're going to want to be careful when you're hot gluing them. Because the hot glue is hot, obviously, it can cause the plastic to lose its shape. So just be aware of that when you're gluing them. So yeah, that's the hand. And then we have the big boy. Then we have the arm. Oh man, both the arm and the hand took about the same amount of time just because they have about the same amount of pieces, but for some reason making this arm, I'm not good at like spatial reasoning. I'm not good at looking at a picture of like all these little pieces and stuff and then like translating it being on someone else to like moving the shape around in my head to where it goes on myself, like just flipping it in my brain is really hard. So what I used for the base for this was a long sleeve black shirt, and I cut the sleeve off after I was done. Don't cut the sleeve off until you're done, because fabric is weird. It stretches, and you don't know exactly like how much space your arm is going to take up, like on the sleeve. So just don't cut it until you're done. So I started at the bottom of the sleeve. So you don't want to be in a situation where you were working your way up the arm and then you run out of fabric because you cut it too soon. So most of this is high density foam, just like the hand. I don't know. Again, I just cut the pieces out and I molded them onto my arm just so they would have the right shape. You always want to do that. Make sure, like, after you cut the piece out, mold it onto your arm so that it has the right shape, and then glue it to the sleeve. Again, I would make sure you get a shirt that fits to you snugly, because I'm fucking tiny, I had problems with this where the fabric was loose a little bit, and that made it difficult to like know where to. If you glue something onto the sleeve and then put it on, a lot of times you're gonna find that it shifts and it doesn't end up being in the place you thought it would be because the fabric stretches. So again, really the only way to do it is to have it on and then glue it on, which is, you can imagine for some of these parts that's pretty difficult. So it looks like there's a gap here. There really isn't. When I put it on, which I'm not going to because it's kind of a pain in the ass, when I put it on, this part slides up. So it's more like that. The gap isn't there. It's all high density foam except for these little bits, like the little screws. You can see those. Those are all the moldable plastic. But they're just really little, so that's pretty easy. Just do the same thing you did with the screws, but they're smaller. The screws for the hand, but they're smaller. One thing I would keep in mind is that this is really difficult. At least it was for me, because I have a hard time, like I said, with kind of the spatial reasoning kind of stuff. And this is going to take a long time. It took me several months to do. But that was because I was really only working on it for like a couple hours at a time. You know, if I had worked straight through, it probably would have been like maybe 24 or 48 hours. But one thing I definitely recommend is don't try to do it all at once. Definitely take those breaks, because what's gonna happen is, eventually you're just gonna get frustrated and you're gonna start fucking things up. And that's devastating. If you're like halfway up the arm and then you start fucking it up, you're gonna panic because you don't know if you'll be able to fix it, and then you might have to start all over, and that just would be tragic. So just make sure you're in a good headspace and just be careful, take your time. Oh yeah, so these parts here are just regular electrical wires. I got them from my dad. I don't know where he got them from. I got red, yellow, and blue wires. And to hold the thing on to you, you could just have the arm and it would kind of stay. But I wanted to make sure it's like really secure. So I cut a belt. So one piece is longer, and it's the part that just has the holes in it. And that goes around your back, And then on the front, I attached a little piece with the buckle. And then it just, it goes around here and you tighten it and buckle it. You'll probably, I don't know if it's just the material of the belt I have, but you'll probably have to, like, after each time you wear it, you'll probably have to re-glue it because it keeps coming off. By far the hardest piece is this piece, these pieces here that are right in your armpit, right up here next to your arm. Because it's harder for you to see it when you're working on it, and it's harder to maneuver. It's just, it was the most difficult part by far. It took me the longest. I think my advice for that would be, don't get impatient, but at the same time, you're probably gonna have to try and fail with it. So a lot of, and this goes for the entire arm, a lot of it for me was just like, okay, I'm gonna try this, and it ended up not working, but it gave me some kind of reference for where to go from there. So try again, fail, and then fail better. So I would just try something, and then I would know whether I needed to make it bigger, whether I needed to make it smaller, whether it needed to be, you know, more to the left, more to the right, you know, stuff like that. So just keep trying different things, unless you're like really good at kind of like that spatial reasoning kind of stuff. You're probably not going to get it right the first time around, so I just keep trying. Also, don't be afraid to improvise on a couple of things, because the reference image I was using, it just didn't, in translating it into reality, it just didn't quite, it wouldn't have worked if I had translated it directly. It just wouldn't have looked right. So I had to take a few creative liberties just to get something that worked. You know, use your reference image for a base, for sure, but at the end of the day, you've got to have something that works for you. Don't be afraid to freestyle a little bit. Right, so if being able to move your arm was really important, you wouldn't be able to do it this way. So the reason that this arm is not mobile is because there's no space here in the elbow. These pieces, like when I put it on and slide it up, these pieces are like right next to each other. If you wanted to be able to move your arm, you would have to have a huge gap at the elbow. A huge gap on both sides, about like that big. There'd have to be that big of a hole in the foam for you to be able to bend it. To bend your arm. On the other side too. Have to be a hole here. At least I think. Theoretically. So if it's important to you to be able to move your arm, don't have these pieces so close together. Also, when wearing this, I can't bend my arm this way. I also can't lift my arm up. I don't know what the fix for that would be. But just know if you build it in this way, you're not going to be able to lift your arm up. I don't know. I don't know how you would fix that. I guess if I knew, I would have built it that way instead of this way. I have to pee. Oh, painting. So for painting, no, I'll start with where I got my supplies. So I think I went to Michael's. I either went to Michael's or Hobby Lobby. I hope I didn't go to Hobby Lobby because I hate Hobby Lobby and it sucks. But I'm pretty sure I went to Michael's. And they have kind of a whole cosplay section. At least they did in the store I went to. And right there, all in one place, was the high density foam paint that I used, which I used this paint that was like metallic. It was like it was specifically for painting stuff to look like armor. It was right there, and I think it like says on, so it's like a little bottle about this big, and it says on it that it's like for armor and stuff. And I got two different shades of silver. I got one that was lighter and one that was darker, and I layered them over each other. So I think I started with the light, and then I put a layer of dark over it, and then I put a layer of light. I either did that or I started with dark and then went light and then went dark and then went light. One of those. But I read, so they have like a little pamphlet there, a little helpful little pamphlet with pro tips and tricks for using high density foam and painting and stuff. They said that if you layered the paint, it made it look more like, I don't know, weathered and realistic, I guess. So I was like, sure, I trust you. I'll try it. And I think it turned out pretty well. Yeah, I got the foam, I got the paint, I got the heat gun, and I got the moldable plastic, and it was all right there. And this wasn't expensive. It was $9.99, says it right on the thing. I had the belt already. I got the wires from my dad. I had the shirt. No, I didn't have the shirt. I bought that while I was there, but it wasn't expensive. It was like $5 or something. Right, about the high density foam. So here's the foam that I used. Unfortunately, I peeled the sticker off of it, so I don't know what the thickness of this is, but I'm pretty sure this is the thinnest one they had. So I got this one, and I got like the next one up, and it's like this. So, as you can see, I have a lot more of this left than I do of the thinner one. And that is because this thicker one is useless for this, pretty much. There's no, I can't think of a single place where it was better to use the thicker one than the thinner one. So for this, get the thinnest high density foam that they have and just use that. And one roll should be enough, unless you fuck up a bunch, then you might need another roll, but like I said, it was only like $10 or something. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I know I didn't cover everything, so if you have specific questions, you know, leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them, but, you know, just don't expect much from me. I realized that I filmed this whole thing the wrong way, so this video probably looks like shit because I didn't film it this way like I should have done. But you know, we live, we learn, and so if you've stuck with the video this long looking at it like this, props to you. I guess that's it.